it's preposterous, actually. I think that the idea that we're going to decarbonise society is an assault on wealth creation. It's going to impoverish people. The notion that we run things by wind and having capture on that basis is a fallacy. It would lead to blackouts. But both parties, you're right in saying, both parties have been absolutely negligent in serious investment in infrastructure for the next 100 years. And over the last 30 years, we've seen that in terms of a reluctance and a refusal to invest in nuclear, a refusal to invest in reservoirs across the board. So blackouts are a concern, as well as wage impoverishment, a reduction of wealth. Civil disorder, not so much.
Why a reduction in wealth? Because, I mean, part of the idea behind what Labour wants to do is the fact that it's going to involve putting up more wind farms, it's going to involve more building more things, and they say that's going to boost the economy, it's going to get more people in work, the economy's going to grow.
They do say that. The problem is that we have a situation that unless you fully invest properly in nuclear in particular, there is an opportunity with tidal. There are some people who've got that, but that's not what's being proposed. And instead, we also see alongside this idea of net zero limiting wealth creation across the board. Why poorer? Because people are going to get paid less, we're going to have less investment. We've shut down our streets across the UK with things like low traffic neighbourhoods, low emission zones, constantly this idea that net zero is going to improve the air. And actually, we never have a cost-benefit analysis of all of this. We never have let's have scrutiny of this with the public. Let's open this up. Let's say, are we going to be forced to fly less? Are we going to be forced to travel around the country less? Where are the jobs going to come? If you're going to have an attack on North Sea oil and you don't like these nasty things that they keep calling them, they're polluting things. But in actual fact, our air has never been cleaner. And actually, if you compare what's happening in the UK to areas like China and India, Brazil, this whole idea is just going to set us back and impoverish us further. So I think that's why we really have to say no to net zero.
But also I think we need to stop gaslighting the public about things like everybody needs electric cars, and then you look and there are no charging points. There really are not sufficient charging points for a tenth of the cars that are allegedly driving around the country. And actually, when you drill down further into something like electric cars, the lithium batteries are incredibly heavy, they're very damaging, they cause all sorts of problems on roads, they cause all sorts of problems in car parks, all of that. So I think we need a much more honest debate. Obviously, it's a hot issue because of the, Ukraine invasion and the panic about our lack of energy security and this idea that we're going to have our own secure energy supply. But I think this attack on Labour is a bit rich, coming from the Conservatives, who've been in power for 14 years, and both parties over decades.
I was going to say that we're only getting ideas now.
Yeah, well, they've had a responsibility to not do this, and now they're making this distinction, and I think that's absolutely right. What we need is a proper transparency, and I think the public, if they had the opportunity to have a proper cost-benefit analysis and assessment, would say, no, we don't want this, if it was laid out in full. And that's the problem with what's gone on with the Conservatives.
Isn't it? I mean,
this
is the thing. I just want. I mean, it's going to happen. It looks like if you look at every single poll, you can only come to the conclusion Labour's going to be the next government. Therefore, this will happen.
Well, that might well be the case, but like we've seen with some other things, people say all sorts of things, but when you try and get it implemented, and you start realising, oh, actually, that's going to mean we're going to lose jobs. It's going to cost people. There's going to be much concern. There's going to be much opposition. The public's interest needs to be put first. What do people need? How are we going to have families and businesses and people to get paid properly? That's the big challenge in Britain. And when you have it dominated by this idea of net zero first and not the public first, that is going to be very problematic. So you can say what you want, but in reality, what you're going to be able to do.